You are a trained doctor. You land in Calcutta in 1994. You volunteer at the world's most famous charity. You expect modern medicine funded by global billionaires. Instead, a nun hands you a dull needle. She tells you to wash it in cold water. You ask for strong painkillers for an agonizing patient. You receive a simple aspirin. This specific facility holds $29 million in unspent donations. Yet, volunteers wash dirty blankets in the dish sink. You hear patients moaning through the thin walls. The smell of unwashed bodies hangs heavily in the humid air. You realize the medical supplies are completely locked away. The world worshipped Mother Teresa as an untouchable icon. Presidents kissed her ring. Dictators funded her secret bank accounts. But behind the Nobel Peace Prize was a dark mechanism. Her charity was not a hospital. It was a machine designed to harvest human pain, and the global elite paid handsomely to keep it running. In 1979, Mother Teresa stood before the global elite. She accepted the prestigious Nobel Peace Prize. World leaders bowed their heads in her presence. Presidents eagerly kissed her ring. She was completely untouchable. She represented the absolute pinnacle of human morality. Her weathered face became synonymous with supreme charity. Billions of people believed she saved the poorest citizens of Calcutta. The media painted her as a flawless savior. The 1969 BBC documentary created this massive global myth. Journalist Malcolm Muggeridge broadcast her image into millions of homes. He claimed she performed literal miracles on camera. That glowing public image acted as a carefully constructed shield. It hid a chilling reality on the ground in India. Her famous facilities had a very specific purpose. She explicitly called them homes for the dying. The name itself reveals the dark operational mechanism of her empire. These buildings functioned entirely as terminal waiting rooms. Patients entered these walls simply to expire. This brutal environment was a deliberate choice. Her organization possessed unimaginable wealth. Donations flooded informed every corner of the globe. Millions of dollars sat untouched in bank accounts. Yet, the floors of her clinics remained covered in filth. Basic medical supplies were essentially non-existent. Medical professionals who visited expected a modern utopia of healing. They found an unregulated nightmare instead. Doctors walked past cots crammed tightly together. They saw patients with highly contagious diseases mixed with the healthy. The stark disconnect between her massive wealth and the decaying bodies is staggering. You have to ask yourself a very dark question. If the millions in donations failed to buy medicine, what exactly was its funding? The answer lies hidden inside a terrifying medical philosophy. In 1994, the saintly facade finally cracked. Dr. Robin Fox visited the Calcutta clinics. He edited the highly prestigious medical journal The Lancet. He published a devastating eyewitness report afterward. He noted a complete lack of systematic medical diagnosis. The facility actively discouraged modern medical algorithms. Mother Teresa preferred divine providence over actual medical planning. The charity held millions in global bank accounts. The lack of medical equipment served as a deliberate theological mechanism. Mother Teresa viewed human pain as a spiritual gift. She believed immense suffering brought patients closer to Christ. Poverty operated as an aesthetic to actively maintain. She required visible destitution to fulfill her religious visions. This philosophy dictated terrifying daily operations. Former volunteer Mary Loudon witnessed the grim reality firsthand. She watched nuns washing used hypodermic needles. They rinsed the dirty plastic under cold tap water. The needles grew blunter with every single injection. Loudon asked why they refused to boil the water. The nun simply replied that the cold water cleaned them. This willful medical ignorance actively cost lives. A 15-year-old boy arrived with a minor kidney infection. He urgently needed basic antibiotics. The sisters refused to administer the the medication. They completely refused to arrange a hospital transfer. The boy steadily worsened until he died in absolute agony. A modern hospital sat only blocks away. The facility also denied strong analgesics to terminal cancer patients. They offered only simple aspirin for excruciating pain. The organization functioned perfectly as a religious conversion machine. Actual medical care served merely as an afterthought. Dying Hindu and Muslim patients received secret baptisms. Sisters wiped their forehead with damp cloths. They mumbled quiet prayers to secure a ticket to heaven. The patients rarely understood the religious ritual. Author Christopher Hitchens later exposed this exact practice on television. The world believed they funded a medical sanctuary. They unknowingly financed a global cult of suffering instead. But the massive donations pouring in had to go somewhere. If the funds bypassed the patients, where were the accounts hiding? The global public donated blindly. They assumed every dollar bought medicine or food. The financial reality was absolutely staggering. Investigative journalist Gianluigi Nuzzi uncovered the truth. He accessed highly classified Vatican bank documents. Mother Teresa held the most cash-heavy account in the entire institution. Her balance was incredibly massive. If she closed her account, the Vatican bank risked immediate default. Yet, the sisters in Calcutta continued to reuse unsterilized needles. The money returned rarely to the slums. Instead, the charity functioned like a geopolitical hedge fund. Donations bypassed local Indian infrastructure completely. Funds were systematically routed into secretive offshore accounts. Investigators located a single checking account in New York City. It held $50 million in idle cash. The money sat completely untouched. It generated interest while patients in India suffered without basic aspirin. The financial mechanism was brilliant but incredibly brutal. Maintained the visual aesthetic of extreme poverty to secure endless donations. Then funnel that capital directly into untouchable religious institutions. The Vatican Bank famously operates outside international financial regulations. This allowed the massive wealth to vanish without a trace. The Vatican benefited immensely from her saintly branding. She acted as their ultimate fundraiser, but ordinary citizens weren't her only financial backers. The most powerful, corrupt figures on earth wanted to buy her blessing, and she was surprisingly willing to sell it to them. The global elite recognized her immense public power. They understood the massive value of her saintly reputation. She offered a highly specific service to the corrupt. She provided geopolitical reputation laundering. A single photograph with Mother Teresa instantly erased public sin. Ruthless dictators eagerly paid for this exact privilege. In 1981, she traveled to the island nation of Haiti. She met with the brutal dictator Jean-Claude Duvalier. Locals called the tyrant Baby Doc. His regime actively tortured and murdered political opponents. The Haitian people lived in absolute terror and extreme poverty. Mother Teresa stood next to him and smiled for the cameras. She accepted the Legion of Honor from his blood-stained hands. She publicly praised his regime for loving the poor. Duvalier handed her millions of dollars in return. This transaction washed his dark global image in holy water. She repeated this exact tactic with major corporate criminals. Charles Keating orchestrated a massive financial fraud in the 1980s. He stole billions from ordinary citizens and elderly investors. Keating donated $1.2 million directly to Mother Teresa. He also granted her unlimited access to his private jet. Authorities finally arrested Keating in 1992. Mother Teresa immediately intervened in the legal process. She wrote a formal letter to the presiding judge. She asked for extreme leniency for the convicted fraudster. She cited his incredible generosity to her specific charity. The prosecuting attorney wrote her a direct letter back. He explained that the donated money was stolen from innocent people. He formally asked her to return the stolen $1.25 million. She never replied to this letter. She never returned a single stolen dollar to the victims. Her organization quietly absorbed the blood money. She provided moral cover for the worst actors on the global stage. But how did she completely beat the allegations in the 1990s? The answer lies in the highest corridors of Vatican power. In 1997, Mother Teresa passed away. The Vatican faced a massive public relations crisis. Investigative journalists were slowly exposing her financial secrets. Medical professionals were loudly condemning her primitive clinics. The church needed to permanently cement her untouchable legacy. Pope John Paul II executed an unprecedented maneuver. Catholic law requires a strict 5-year waiting period for sainthood. The Pope completely waived this mandatory rule. He fast-tracked her beatification with ruthless efficiency. This legal mechanism served as the ultimate PR shield. You cannot effectively investigate a certified saint. To question her finances now meant questioning God directly. Her final years revealed her ultimate hypocrisy. She suffered from severe failing heart trouble. She did not check into her own squalid clinics. She refused to suffer on a filthy cot in Calcutta. Instead, she quietly flew to the United States. She checked into the prestigious Scripps Clinic in California. She received world-class care in expensive Western hospitals. She utilized the exact strong painkillers she denied to the dying. The global public ignored this glaring contradiction entirely. They did not actually want a functioning hospital in India. They wanted a comforting symbol to alleviate their own guilt. Mother Teresa provided that exact psychological illusion. She built a billion-dollar empire on the backs of the agonizing poor. She actively laundered the dark reputations of global tyrants. She protected the financial interests of the Vatican above all else. The world demanded an icon, so she played the part perfectly. And that is exactly why there will never be another Mother Teresa.
Like and subscribe for more thought-provoking documentaries.